You know those moments, I think that we all have them, have had them, for some fairly regularly, for others maybe not so often. But those moments when you really want to stay calm and be responsive in a conversation or an interaction with your kids, with your spouse, with whomever, but instead you find yourself snapping, shutting down, being reactive. And it's like for me, I see it happening. I am there. Like I realize I'm doing it, but I can't or don't or won't stop. It's incredibly irritating. And you're left after that reaction and after that interaction, wondering, why did I do that? What happened? What went wrong? And it isn't that you don't know what to say. It isn't that you didn't go into it with a plan or you went in calm, but something inside of you takes over. That pattern, that wiring, those triggers take over, and you say and do things that you didn't intend or didn't want to say, and things get off track. Today, we're talking about that. We're talking about what blocks us from having those empowered conversations, what blocks us from staying calm and staying connected in conversations with our children, with our spouse, with anyone really that we're having an intense or meaningful conversation with. And we're going to talk about that old wiring, those old patterns that keep showing up, how we can get past that and begin to have really empowered, deep conversations with the people that we love and really want to stay connected with and keep a deep and meaningful connection with, or regain a deep and meaningful connection with. I'm Julie Cornish, and I am the founder of the Rewired Parent. This is a place where we are transforming our parenting from the inside out. And today we are talking about just that, transforming our parenting through conversation and connection with our children, and what's preventing us from sitting down and really having a connected, calm conversation without being reactive, without being derailed by triggers and old patterns. And for most of us, what it comes down to is that we grew up in homes where, as children, most of us are taught to really be agreeable, to be good, or to be quiet, or to not rock the boat. We're not often taught to speak up, to speak our mind, to question what's being said to us. We aren't taught as children that our voice matters, that what we have to say has value. And a lot of the time, children are coming to us, or we came to our parents or any adult figure with something that was really important to us, something that had a lot of meaning, that we were had gotten a lot of confidence up to go talk about, and we are shut down. We are told that it's not important. We're told that they don't have time to hear us, or that our emotions are not valid. And unfortunately, we carry that on through our entire life if we aren't aware of it, and we uh, put that burden on our children, and we teach them that their voices aren't valuable and what they have to say doesn't matter. When they come to us with something and we say, oh, don't worry about it, or oh, it's not that big of a deal, those seem like small things to say, but they really devalue what your child is trying to say, and the kind of courage or confidence or effort it takes for them to actually come to you and want to tell you something that is important or carries a lot of emotion. What we begin to learn when that is the pattern, or when that is what is being shown to us from our parents, or what we're showing to our kids, is that our needs are dismissed, that our emotions were too much for the adults around us to handle. And we learn to really silence ourselves to keep the peace, to keep the connection, to be easy. And now, as adults and as parents, that conditioning still lives in our nervous system. And we might know the tools for conscious communication. We might have been taught them. We might have gone to therapy and have learned them. But yet we still find ourselves being triggered. And when our children's voice feels too big or challenging, that old wiring, those old patterns from a childhood are still coming up. And that fear of disconnection really lights up our brain and it sends us into that fight or flight. And so we get a little bit dysregulated. We're not going to be communicating as well. And I think it's prevalent for all individuals, but for many women, this runs even deeper because as women, we're taught to be polite, we're taught to stay small, we're taught to kind of be appealing, if you will, to not rock the boat, to not be too much. So when we try to express ourselves calmly, to set a boundary or to speak a truth, there's often a fear that creeps up that if I speak up, I might lose love. And it's not what it's saying in your head. That's what is known in the nervous system from when we're a child. So you're not hearing, I'm going to lose love if I say something, but your nervous system, there's a fear within that that is going to be triggered during those times. And those old messages really are my needs aren't important. My truth pushes people away. And that's why empowered conversation can really feel unsafe, can feel uncomfortable, and it is easy to begin to get defensive because your nervous system is really on edge during those conversations, even with your children, and sometimes especially with your children because it's really lighting up that time from when you were a child. And this really goes against everything we were taught about what it means to be good. When our kids, these little mirrors of truth, say things like, Mom, you never listen, or that hurt my feelings. And suddenly it's not about what they said, it's about what we felt when they said it. And those words begin to touch those old wounds and triggers, the ones that really tell you that you're not enough, that you're doing something wrong, that you're failing. And instead of hearing what they're saying clearly and hearing it with detachment and not taking it personally, we really begin to get into that defensive or that shame or guilt. It can go many different directions for people, but the point is that when we hear that, we don't stay calm and focused. We kind of, our nervous system is activated in a way that is not beneficial or helpful for the conversation. And what we really want is to be able to stay open and connected and responsive for those conversations. And for me, what has been most beneficial to stay on track with conversations, to be able to have a conversation with my children or with my co-parent, is using the MAP method. And I have talked about that in a lot of videos lately. It's one of my certifications along with my parent coaching. And it is a method to rewire those old subconscious patterns, those old triggers and things that keep us stuck and keep us in old patterns. And while MAP is certainly not the only method you can use to begin to clear those subconscious patterns and habits that we have created, simply acknowledging the pattern when you're in the middle of it. If you're having a conversation with your child and you're noticing that you're feeling triggered or you're beginning to feel that defense, you don't have to say, oh, this came from my childhood. You can just simply breathe and you can acknowledge that something's coming up for you in that moment. You can ask the child, do you mind? I need a little bit of a break right now. Can we come back to this conversation in a few minutes and begin to rewire in that way? The benefit of MAP is that it can be really, it can pinpoint what is happening a little bit more directly. Next week, I will be posting a MAP session that is directly connected to those empowered conversations, to helping to clear those blocks, to having your voice heard, to feeling like what you have to say has value, that it matters, clearing those blocks to coming to a conversation defensive before the conversation even starts, and things along that nature. And the beauty of MAP is that you can kind of bring whatever you have, and this open session can really begin to rewire and clear those. And what the MAP session is really going to help us do is be able to show up with more ease, confidence, and compassion in those conversations with your children, or with your spouse or whomever it is that you're having a deep conversation that is really important. And I just want you to remember you're not broken. These are patterns that we learned when we were children, that our parents learned when they were children, and they're just continuing to be passed along. And this is a great opportunity for us as parents to stop that and begin to teach our children a new way to communicate with confidence, with love and compassion, to go into a conversation with curiosity and with an open heart. And if this message resonated with you, please like and subscribe, share it with a friend. Check out the rest of the series. We have this is a conversation series, so I have video 1 and 2, and then I did a 2.5 that I kind of threw in there. And then next week we'll have the full map session that you can watch to begin to clear those blocks and get communicating in a really powerful way and helping your child to do the same thing, because that is going to really build confidence for both of you and deepen your connection. And especially if your kids are younger, it's going to really help support that connection, that communication when they're a teenager, when things start to get a little bit more complicated. All right, well, that about wraps it up. So don't forget to join me next week for a guided map session on clearing those blocks to communication so you can connect more deeply with your children, yourself, and your family. And as always, your healing matters, your growth matters, and you matter deeply. So keep showing up, keep doing the work. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous week. Thanks so much.